Here. I couldn't figure out how to do this on my Chromebook, so today I'm going to be doing it on my phone. Hopefully next time I will do it in a more professional way, but I'm really happy to share some information with you. So the topic that you guys wanted to hear about was how to handle students that can't match pitch within the choir. And it is such an important topic, and one that I feel very strongly about, and hopefully I can share some insight. So the first thing I wanted to say is that I believe anybody can sing, and I believe anybody can match pitch. And I frequently see in the choral groups on Facebook that somebody always says something about how 10% of the population can't match pitch. They're tone deaf. And I always think to myself, how is it possible that people are tone deaf, especially 10% of the population, when everybody speaks with pitches? Everybody makes sounds. Nobody is without inflection. So if we just start with the concept that we all make pitches, we all make sounds, and our brains need to learn how to process those sounds. Some of us need to learn to process that more than others. But if we're all making sounds, da 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 da, like I just did, da 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 da, then we can start to believe that anybody can sing and anybody can match pitch. So the fundamental concept is that we want to meet the students where they are at, just like we do that with everything. You know, a student joins the choir, or you're starting a new choir, you want to meet them where they're at and then take them to where you want them to go. So in this situation, you know, you're let's say you have a few kids around the piano, and the first student is not matching. The first person is matching pitch right away, and you're taking them up the register, maybe 5-note patterns, ascending, and then you go down, you're descending, 5-note patterns, and everything is going great. And then you get to this next kid, and the kid can't match pitch. So it's so logical, you're going to find the note that they are singing. You don't try and get them up to you or down to you. You find the note on the piano. They are producing a note. And as long as they're producing a note, we have a starting point, right? As long as they're producing a note, you could find that note, you could replicate that note, and we start from there. But I want to take a step back. If you don't have the belief that everybody can sing, then you are going to have 10% of your choir that can't match pitch. You're going to have students that are not able to find your notes because you are going to accept it. So the first thing you need to do is change your belief system and say, "Hi Kevin, how are you?" Sorry, little sidetrack. It's nice to see some familiar faces there. The first thing you want to do is you need to believe that every student in your choir is capable of matching pitch and capable of singing. The next thing you want to do is you want to make every student aware. They need to be aware of what they're doing. Now that doesn't mean that you have to be negative about it. We can be really positive, but we want to make students aware of what they're all doing. And then the last thing we want to do in this case is we want to inspire them to want to improve wherever they're at, whatever level. They could be the finest singer you've ever had, and there's still another level. They could be an average singer, and there's plenty more growth. Or they could be a student that can't match pitch. And we need to break things down into the lowest common denominator where they're at and bring them one step up. And we have to believe in them to start with. So going back to this student who's not able to match pitch, let's take it into the choir setting. So today was my second day in choir. This year, I didn't have anybody that really stood out, not matching pitch, where there was, a drone at the bottom of my group. But last year I did. I had a student for a long time that was droning at the bottom of the choir. So what am I going to do about it in the choir setting? So in the choir setting, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try everything I can to develop good vocal technique for the choir, starting from using the lower abdominal muscles, getting them to engage, feeling the solar plexus right below the sternum, making them cough, and feeling that pulse. Today I did that in class. Again, the second day of class, I had them all cough, and I said, raise your hand if you can't feel that, and I want you to be really honest. And a few people raised their hands. I said, that's great. I really appreciate the fact that you're being honest here. So now I can help you. So I isolated those 3 or 4 students, and they felt it. So once they felt that the solar plexus pop out, we were able to shortly say, ha, 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 and then attach that to a pitch. So this is one way first to just engage the muscles. Now you might find that something as simple as that, if you find the right range, will get everybody to match pitch. So the first thing you're doing in a choir setting is, if you hear a drone, try and reach the drone, the low voice, in the choir. Try and get down low, or try to get up high. Try to get to a range where they're at and start bringing them up with technique. So you're really paying attention to that one student or those 2 students. If it's guys and you're in a mixed choir, maybe focus on the guys for a minute or 2 and start in that range. And do something that you ordinarily wouldn't do in a choir where everybody's matching pitch. Do ha 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 ha, or ha 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 ha. Something really nice and simple where you're getting them, or you're getting them close. Now, if you do that every day, and I'm using that as an example in the choir, and you find that those students are not engaging at all, they're still not getting it, well, that's when you start working with them one-on-one. Now, some of you might have lessons or after-school extra help, or you have sectionals, and this is the perfect opportunity that you have one-on-one time with these students. And again, the first thing you do is you meet students where they're at. But again, before you do that, you need to inspire them and you need to motivate them to believe they can sing. But also at the same time, you need to make them aware that they are not matching pitch, that they are not on. Because many teachers just pretend that it's not happening. They accept it. And if you accept it, you will always get it. And it's not about you. It's about the fact that you're depriving them of growth. You're actually making them uncomfortable by allowing them to drone through the choir. Whether they know it or not, they want to learn how to sing. They want to get better. They don't want to be told to mouth the words. They want to become a singer that fits into the choir. So in a small group setting where you could isolate them, you encourage them, you make them aware. That was great. I matched your pitch. You sang that perfectly. Can you hear ha 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 ha? Can you hear that the third note you didn't match that? Okay, let's try that again. Let's go back to your solar plexus. Let's go back to ha, ha, ha. Make it short. Let's see how loud, how strong you can make it. Ha, 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 ha. And you practice it. And then you go up by a half step. And the second that they get lost in there, or maybe not even the second, maybe you go 1 or 2 exercises higher than they can actually do and see what happens. But then go right back, start again. Do it again. Do it again. Do it for 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, and be done for the day. Okay? The next time you go back, you meet them again, and you do the same thing. You also want to incorporate the falsetto and you want to try and get them into ranges that they're not used to doing. So you might want to make them sigh, make them mimic your sighs, see if they can do that. Make them sing in other areas that they never thought they could. Have them squeak. Have them do anything that gets them away from one sound. Because the reality is, and again, I'm talking about a guy right now, but last year, for example, the student that I had the most trouble with getting to match pitch, probably in my entire career, was last year. And it took a solid 4 months before she was really singing with the choir. She would be on for short periods of time after about 4 or 5 weeks, but really she wasn't connected with the choir for a while. So I'm not talking only about guys, but right this second I'm addressing guys. Guys are going to walk in and they're going to say, yo, hey, what's up? Or whatever they're going to do, and they're down here and they can't get out of that range. But you can't tell me that a guy that's talking like this and they're super cool can't do anything up high. They can't go, ooh, ha, 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 ha. Anything that gets them out of that range. Anything that's going to teach them that there's more sound than the grunt that they came in with. As you get them to experience different areas in their voice, then down low will become more relaxed. So, sighs, of course, work, all of these different things, but it's about doing it for 5 minutes at a time, 10 minutes at a time, and getting them to become aware of when they're reaching it and when they're not, and always giving them success, because there is no possible way that you can't find a pitch that they're singing and get them to sing that and sing something else. There's no possible way. All you have to do is find their pitch and get them to change their pitch. If they could change off that pitch, you have 2 notes. And the last time I checked, you know, there's only 12 tones in a 12-tone scale in an octave. So if you have 2, you're already 2 out of 12. So that's your starting point. Now, as you build their confidence and show them that they can do something, and they gain a little bit more support, which they will if you keep doing breath support exercises in class, just short exercises that get the muscles going. Once you get them to feel that, they will do more. And if you inspire them and motivate them and get them to believe in the fact that they're going to get better, they're going to try harder and they will expand their range. Now, bringing that back into the rehearsal, because I'm again saying that you need to give them some one-on-one help in order to get them to become aware. Now, in the class, you want to start to create some kind of eye contact, connection with them that lets them know when they're off. So they either stop and then start again, which means that you're going to start the exercise again, or give them some affirmation when they are on. Another thing you could do is you could have a section leader sit with them and help them when they're on, help them become aware when they're on. Give them that awareness. The more awareness they get, the more growth they're going to have, because they're going to be more tuned into what they're doing, and then the more confidence they're going to have to propel forward. Now, connecting this deeper into the music, you're going to have students that can't sing the music that you're giving the choir. Now, going back to the student I had last year, I put her in the alto 2 section. It was a treble choir, so I had soprano 1, soprano 2, alto 1, alto 2. I put her in the alto 2 section because her limited range, all of her notes fell in the alto 2 range. However, she had, maybe, I don't know, she could sing about a fifth. However, in that fifth, the second the note went too high or too low, she lost her pitch center. So she was okay within those 5 notes if we never left those 5 notes. But no choral piece just sits in there. So what we started doing is we started marking her music and showing her where she should be singing. So this is a concept that I do with the entire choir, not just with the students that struggle to match pitch. Everybody in the choir, which my program is self-select, which means all you have to do is sign up and you're accepted into the program. So in this self-select program, we have all different levels of singers and musicians. But even the finest singers might have notes that are too high, a jump that's too tricky, notes that are too low. And I try and teach them to become aware of what they sing well and what they're struggling with. Are they struggling with a specific rhythm after several weeks of practice? Are they struggling with the first note? Are they struggling with a certain leap? When they're struggling, I have them mark it, not so it gets perfect. I mean, first we try and get it perfect, but then we realize, well, this is a struggle. Just mark that you're not going to sing it. So we do this with students that struggle to match pitch. We limit their music to the notes that are there. I don't add new notes in an ensemble that I'm trying to make a select sounding ensemble. I don't just add extra notes, but I limit their range to what it is that they can get most of the time. And this is a great starting point, because then they start to experience success. Now, I'm not saying that they don't get frustrated at first. Well, you're telling me I should only sing these 4 lines in this song? Or you're telling me I can't sing my favorite line? Well, the answer is yes. You know why? Because you're not singing your favorite line. You're singing random pitches right now, and they're all the same. So I want you to be successful. And if you want to learn to be successful, we need you to recognize when you're on. So we focus on the area that they have, that little pattern that they have, and we work on that. So every time that they come for extra help, and again, we're talking 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, not 20 minutes, not a half an hour. Just get the lower abdominal muscles working, get them to make some high pitches, anything that can get them to squeak, anything that gets them into falsetto, anything that gets them to support, anything that gets them to slide down. Anything like that. Maybe something where they have to sing a high note, ooh, and then ooh. Different octaves, so they start to feel the different ranges in their voice, even if no sound comes up high, even if it's just air. Let their voice go into that air pocket where no sound comes out, and then go back into their normal range. So again, what you're really doing is you're creating flexibility in the soft palate, and by creating the flexibility in the soft palate, you will see that they start to get a more relaxed tone in their chest voice. The relaxed tone will get them to add notes, increase their range, increase their flexibility. So going back to that, let's say they have only a 5-note range. So they start singing that little pattern in the music. And when you work with them one-on-one for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, every day here and there, you have them sing that little pattern in the music. And maybe at that moment, you try and get them to expand a little bit beyond that 5-note range in the song. And they probably won't be able to do it the first time or the second time. But in class, they sing only the range that you know they can do, which also means when you know they could sing in that range and they go off, you need to stop and get everybody in that section on the correct pitch. You're really focusing on that one student or those 2 students, but you're focusing on that section to get them on that pitch. This might be a long process. In some cases, it's something that takes a week or 2, and in my case last year, it was 4 solid months of having to, in some way or another, single out one student who was struggling to match pitch. And I know it's frustrating. It's frustrating to the class. It's frustrating to the student. But which is more frustrating? Ignoring it, so there's just a drone sound at the bottom. The student either knowing that they're a drone and not being useful, or not knowing and just being told their whole life, like, those American Idol people who are pushed to the last round and they sing horribly because everybody's told them that they're great up until that moment, and then so they can embarrass themselves on national TV. Making that girl feel like she's good even though she can't match pitch, I don't think that's an acceptable response. I think our responsibility as teachers, our responsibility is to reach that student and say, listen, you're not matching pitch. I believe you will be able to. You can, but you have to believe it and you have to be willing to put in the work. And so I'm going to give you a signal when you're off. I'm going to repeat things in the class, and I'm going to have the whole group support you. And they're going to know when you're off. That's okay, because they want you to be on just like the rest of the group. And you will be, and you're going to be an asset, just like you're an asset by being here, by being present, by bringing your positive attitude, by your contributions, your musical contributions, your academic contributions, supporting others. You're here in so many other ways. But you're not matching pitch, and we want you to be contributing, because you will feel so much better about yourself when you are. And my job is to make you aware so you could learn how to match pitch, so you could sing with the group. Now, as I get closer to the concert with all students, I focus on what's within range for every student and what they sound great on. Because let's say my choir this year, I have 68 students in the mixed choir, 31 guys and 37 girls. That's the girls are 11th and 12th graders. All but one are returning, so they're experienced. And the guys, 31, almost 3/4 of them are new or second-year singers. So in this choir, with 67 students, if on any given note 50 to 55 students are singing correctly, and the rest of them opt out, we have a perfect sound with 50 or 55 students. So Carol says, I also draw the notes that they are able to sing on a staff on the board. That's great. We celebrate when they hit a new note. It helps with their understanding, of their vocal range. That's wonderful. That's great. It's awareness. You're making them aware. And if you get all the other students to become aware of this too, Carol, and I'm sure you do, when you do this, it makes such a huge impact, because the other students are supporting. They're seeing growth. When they see growth in their peers, they start supporting them because they want them to get better as well. So that's a wonderful, wonderful thing that you're doing. And so with all of this, that awareness, with every student, when I go around, let's say 2 weeks, 3 weeks before the concert, let's say the soprano ones, there'll be a line that I know is not locking into place. I've spent time in the class. I've focused on the open vowel. I've focused on breath support. I've focused on all these different things, and they're just not creating the sound that I'd like them to do. So I have them go around the room and in a lesson, in a sectional, and I'll say, try it again, lift your soft palate, try it again, do this. And then I'll say, please don't sing that, mark that in your music. And then I go to the next student, and we go around, and maybe half of them end up singing that line and half of them don't. This is more common with the new guys. I go around the room and I, very politely, mark that you're not singing this, mark that you are singing this, mark that you're not singing this. So they gain an awareness. This is not a punishment. It's not a punishment. It's an awareness of what they're doing well. And if 2 or 3 weeks before the concert, they have a map of their music of what they should be singing because they're singing it well, they have 3 weeks to sing everything that they sing well at an even higher level, and they start to become artists. Because what happens is, when they're singing, let's say 75% of the music well and 25% of the music poorly, they're not differentiating it in their performance. I'm now telling them, let's eliminate what you're not doing well, and let's focus specifically on what you're doing well. And all of a sudden, that gets shaped really well, and they become more confident singers. They start building from their strength. So this is not just a concept that we're using with the kid that can't match pitch. We're using this with everybody. But now going back to the student that can't match pitch, this is the long-term goal. If you put them in a lesson with other students, like if in that case of the student I mentioned last year who was in Alto 2, she was in a lesson with the other freshman Alto 2s. So she was in, and sophomores too. So she was in a lesson with 8 or 9 other Alto 2s. And so they all could hear what she was getting and what she wasn't getting. And they were supporting her. But also she was watching me tell other students, drop out on this line, drop out on that line, drop out on this note. Let's go over this interval again. And so she was seeing that this was not just about her. It was about everybody. And everybody has their strengths and their weaknesses. So then when I went back to her and I was working with her, she wasn't defeated. She didn't feel like she was being treated like a second-class citizen. She felt like I was supporting her so she could become a better singer. And what happened was the first 4 months went very, very slowly, because it took a long time for her to shift her mind from, I'm out to get her, I don't want her to sing, because that, she was insecure, she was young, to believing, wow, he's really trying to help me and encourage me. It takes time for that to happen. By the second half of the year, she was so motivated to get stronger and stronger. She sang an Italian aria. She sang Amarilli Mia Bella, beginning to end, from memory, by the end of the year. And I had to transpose it into a lower key, but she sang it in a lower key, correctly, accurately, and with some elements of musicality. It wasn't perfect, but it was such a huge step from somebody that was a drone at the bottom of the choir. So if I could give you some big picture take-home advice, number one, you must believe that anybody can sing. You must believe that. If you don't believe that in your core, you need to do soul searching first, because that is the starting point for achieving success in your choir. If you don't believe it, they will not believe it. I can guarantee you that. They will not believe that they can sing when you don't believe in them. The second thing, meet them where they're at. Always meet them where they're at. Find the note that they sing. Find the pitches, the inflections in their speaking. Get them to make noises, any kind of noises. There's nobody that only has one pitch. There's nobody that only has one pitch. And if they have 2 pitches, well, you've already created some form of music, right? And if they have 3 pitches, well, guess what? You're creating more. Even if it's that's fine. That's 3 pitches. Work from there. Third, work on vocal technique. You're going to be working on the solar plexus, getting the lower abdominal muscles engaged, short staccato, ha, 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 with the mouth open. Get them to feel that. That's one-on-one. Make sure that they're feeling that. Try and get them in falsetto. Try and get them in different octaves as much as possible. In class, have some kind of signal with those students. Make them aware when they are not matching pitch with the rest of the choir. If you know where their range is, do warm-ups in their range. Make sure you do warm-ups in their range and have a signal when it's out of their range so they stop singing. Not because we don't want them to expand their register, we do, but we want them to not just make sounds. We want them to be hyper aware of when they're being successful and keep building upon their successes. And then when we get into the music, we want to make them aware of the notes that are within their range and focus their attention on what they can do. Do not treat what they can't do and can do the same. Build upon their strengths, and over the course of time, expand the notes that are in that are in the music that they could sing. And you do this for everybody, not just for those students, it's for everybody. If you have the mentality that this is not just for the one struggling student, it's for all students. If they're struggling on an interval, some students could get a run really quick, easily. Sometimes we have fast notes, and some students are really good with fast notes, and other students really struggle. So you have the students that do the fast runs, and the ones that struggle, tell them, only sing the quarter note, sing the first note in every grouping of 16th notes. So by focusing specifically on what your strengths are, you continue to build your strengths, you become aware of your weaknesses, and then you isolate those weaknesses as well. So if you can believe that anybody can sing, and then you could give them the awareness, then you can motivate them. That motivation is the final tool. Once they are motivated to do it, guess what? They will do it. If they're motivated, they will match pitch. They will, and they'll become fine singers and successful singers in your choir. But first you have to believe it, then you have to make them aware, which is the hard part, because sometimes we don't want to hurt people's feelings, but we have to politely let them know that they are not doing what they need to be doing. They need to be singing out, and they need to be listening. They need to become aware, and then they will then become motivated as they experience successes. So I'm going to leave it at that because I haven't gotten any questions. But if you write the questions afterwards on the thread, I will happily answer them. And I thank you so much for indulging me on the very, very first Facebook Live event where I couldn't figure out how to do it on my Chromebook. I ended up doing it on my phone. I'm going to hopefully find a more effective way in the future. But I thank you so much for indulging me. And hopefully this was helpful, and I look forward to doing more in the future. Thank you so much, guys. Have a good night.